to the official kickoff of the 2018 Pop-Up Institute towards solving the problem of adolescent substance misuse, addiction, and moving towards recovery. We are Lori Holleran Steiker, and this is
Julie McElrath.
And we are here to welcome you, give you a little bit of an overview of what to expect from the Pop-Up Institute, and to give you some of the background related to how we came to be and what we hope to accomplish in the long run from here. So I also want to just do, as a businessy thing really quick, let you know that we are videotaping this so that it will be posted on the website along next to Julie's name and my name. So each of the presenters for the coffee talks, I said toffee talks. As soon as you're on camera, it's toffee talks. So that all of the presenters have bios on the website and face shots. They'll also have their presentation posted so that others can experience it, or you could turn back to it. We will also post these PowerPoint slides so that you can refer to them and use them to add them to your presentations. We're not having any type of propriety about the PowerPoints. So here we are, and we're going to get started, and then after 10 minutes of our presentation, we're going to open this up for questions, discussion, examples that you have from your arenas, because the whole point of the pop-up was to break down silos and bring different disciplines together around the issue of youth and substance use, misuse, and addiction, so that we could come to new, innovative solutions. And this concept of breaking down silos is where we've been coming from for a long time in the community, and in previous events we're going to give you a little bit of historical background about that. But just so that you know, the charge for the day, the action item, is that this group together comes to this post-it and places a recommendation that will be included and woven into our summit at the end of the Pop-Up Institute. So each talk will make a recommendation and be included in discussion for the future of our work as an institute beyond the pop-up. And it also gives us the opportunity to really feel into what we need to accomplish next. So that will be used at the summit, and also we're going to be doing a special edition of a journal that's going to include the recommendations that come from this Pop-Up Institute. So you are now contributors, and I hope you'll think about it from that perspective and from where you come from. One more thing. My favorite metaphor in the world, so I'll just get it out of the way, is the blind men, or the blind people, and the elephant. And that for a long time, since I've come here to UT in 2000, we've been looking at youth and substance use, misuse, addiction, and recovery from different parts of that elephant. We've been hanging on to the tail and saying it looks like a rope. But maybe Mickey Marinelli in her lab working with rats has been holding on to something giant and saying, no, no, it's a fan. And someone else has been looking at it from another perspective. Let's say Lynn from a grand social change perspective, and he's been saying, no, it's the trunk of a tree, I swear, it's a trunk of a tree. And we've finally all gotten together into the same room, figured out that it's the elephant in the living room. Well, I'm here all week, quite literally. But we are working together finally to look at those different parts and bring the picture together, because youth and substance misuse is a complex issue. And if we are going to solve this issue, we need to be thinking about those complexities. Julie, why don't you tell us about the recovery-oriented community collaborative a little bit, and who's been involved and what that's looked like?
The recovery-oriented community collaborative was started probably 4 years ago or so by a group of organizations that came together to work together, to be action-oriented, and to do things together in the community around recovery. Fun things, projects, but very, very action-oriented. This group actually meets at Communities for Recovery, and as you will see, it is a diverse group of organizations that come together each month and put on things like recovery in the park and softball tournaments, and we've got some discussions that are coming out in the community around harm reduction. So it really is an action-oriented community collaborative that in many ways was the foundation for where we are today.
Fantastic. Recovery people you'll see down here as the larger circle. A community member named Jason Howell, who is a recovery advocate, who's been very active in both legislation and grant writing and shifting the system, was able to get a grant that supported the work of the Rock, which has now been prescribed in different parts of Texas. Now they have different versions of this because of course culture influences the way that teams work together. But one of the things we were able to do is create something in addition to the events that Julie mentioned. We did something called a Recovery Capital Conference that was primarily targeted towards peer recovery coaches a couple of years back. Because there are so many schisms in the system that ought to be working together. One of the schisms is between certified professionals and peers who are making grand impact. That's a commercial for Mary Cook's talk in a couple of days. So, but this recovery people has representation from sober housing, from therapeutic settings, from alternative peer groups, from the University High School, which is the sober high school. You'll see this UT Center for Recovery is part of that group. The Recovery ATX, which houses the Texas Overdose and Naloxone Initiative and Sober Recreation Committee, so that baseball team and volleyball teams and things like that. And even Austin Recovery, Oxford houses. So we have representation from what we hope is all aspects of the ecosystem that we feel need to be getting input. A couple years back, the St. David's Foundation actually funded our Youth Recovery Network, which grew out of the recovery-oriented community collaborative, as a way to bring agencies together around the issues related to youth and emerging adults. We actually started with the acronym YEARN, the actual word, Y-E-A-R-N, Youth and Emerging Adult Recovery Network. But unfortunately, every time you dictate the acronym YEARN into your phone, it writes urine. And we did not want to be the urine network. So we have decided to call it YRN, Youth Recovery Network. And that was happening at the same time that the McArthur Foundation announced a grant called 100 and Change. It's hard to see, but that's their little icon, 100 and Change. And it was $100 million to solve a problem. Not just a social problem, any problem. So getting into that game, we were competing against folks that were trying to solve the problem of
Global issues.
Global issues, solutions to pollution, solutions to oil and gas. So there was a lot that was related to social issues. We decided to get in the game, and it's funny how many people show up to the table when there's $100 million in the kitty, with the possibility of winning that. So, so it was an opportunity to take the Youth Recovery Network, combine it with some of the UT researchers, such as I know that Mike McElrath was involved from the Center for Health Communications. He's the director there. He'll be doing a talk later on in the talk. We had several psychology professors involved. I was involved from the Steve Hicks School of Social Work. We had representatives from Del Med involved, several different departments at Del Med. And at this table, we decided that we would put the pieces together This grant was very competitive. There were over 2,000 viable applicants, and we were in the top 10% in terms of our ranking. Being that we didn't get it, we decided to take this picture of the Youth Recovery Network and its pieces and keep the momentum when there was a call for pop-up institutes. Do you want to say a little bit about the 4? We're going to run a little towards the 15-minute mark, so.
Sure. As Lori mentioned, after the McElrath Foundation and grant application, and somewhat at the same time, we applied for a St. David's Foundation grant. And it was a 2-year planning grant, really for the Youth Recovery Network to take and build out this integrated system of care and begin to really look at how do all of these organizations work together, the educational environment, the public sector, treatment, families, and community, to integrate, to work together, to share data, to share, to partner with one another, to support youth and their families, 14 to 25. And so as a result of that 2-year planning grant then, we have been in the process of creating a mission and a vision and a theory of change and really building out what we hope will be an integrated system of care that's supported by a web-based application and other operational partnerships. And so this is really what our network looks like today. It's a 5-county area. We focus primarily for now in Travis and Williamson counties. And as you can see, there's a lot of people involved in this effort.
Okay. We believe that effective initiatives embrace a holistic approach to prevention and intervention, which, by the way, we've got to stop dichotomizing. That is an absolute spectrum, prevention and intervention, that focuses on education, research, engagement and outreach with students, faculty, peers, administrators, and health professionals. This includes also, when we talk about peers, community peers, not just peers of those that are in the realm of the university, but beyond.
And can I say something
Sure.
really quickly, just going back to that and the Youth Recovery Network diagram that was up prior to this? It really is about not just the acute care model, but that sustained model, right? Sustained recovery support. And it really is what's happening after treatment that we're looking at. So, you know, it is more of the chronic care model.
Exactly. So here we are. This is our pop-up institute, and the representation has not just been stable, but it has grown throughout the pop-up institute. We have undergraduate studies involved with the wellness initiative, and these are commercials because you're going to hear about all of these during the course of the month. The Youth Recovery Network, as already mentioned, the Wagner Center for the Study of Alcohol, Drugs, and Addictions, Student Affairs, CMHC, and the Wellness Network, UT School of Social Work, actually with the Steve Hicks School of Social Work. Many of you may not know that Steve Hicks donated $25 million to name the school, with an emphasis on student scholarships and a focus on addiction and substance use related services. The Health Behavior Research and Training Institute, which is Mary Velasquez's shop. She'll be speaking towards the end of the pop-up. The LBJ School and the RGK Center for Philanthropy and Community Service, represented by David Springer. The UT Center for Health Communications, as mentioned. The UT Del Med School, primarily psychiatry, diversity, and population health. The schools of nursing, education, psychology, natural sciences, human ecology, and the School of Pharmacy, the Pharmacy Recovery Network, and Operation Naloxone, and the Texas Overdose Initiatives. So by way of commercial, we're also aware that the opioid epidemic is hitting our youth in profound ways. And so part of our solving the problem of youth substance misuse will be honing in on innovative and evidence-based solutions to the opioid epidemic. So we will be having, at the end of the Pop-Up Institute, a SAMHSA sponsored, live streamed town hall at the Del Med School in the Learning Building. And that will be on May 14th. Is that right? May 14th. And on May 15th, we'll have an all-day summit with different thematic areas and roundtables of experts who we're really excited. We have Michael Botticelli, who's the past drug czar. We have Dr. John Kelly from Harvard. He's a recovery researcher. We have Leo Beletsky, who is an expert in law and health from Northeastern. And we have Jeremy Goldbach from USC, who is also an expert, but he works primarily in the area of minorities and substance use. Am I forgetting anybody? Oh, and Andy Finch, who is the first NIH-funded researcher. He's at Vanderbilt, who studies recovery high schools. So this is essentially our participant map. We welcome all of you. We are delighted to have you here, and to further this discussion, Julie, anything else that you'd want to add before we move to questions and discussion?
I don't think so. I'm excited about the dialogue.
Wonderful. So let's get into the dialogue. Thanks so much for being here.